Should we move it closer to our mouth?
I think mine is pretty close to my mouth.
Yeah.
Farther from my mouth?
All right.
Should I hold it like this?
No. Hello?
Hello.
Use my iPhone and get the.
You want us to clap?
Wait, yeah.
Oh, that could be good. Actually, that would be yeah. That's incredible, actually.
Just once. Okay, tell
Hey.
us when. Wait, tell us when.
All right. Do you see individualism as a vice or a virtue?
I think a lot of people spend a lot of effort and time and money trying to separate themselves from everyone and from their peers, and for no reason sometimes, other than to just, I don't know, be different from someone else. And I think there's a lot of pressures to stand out and be critical of everything in your surroundings. I think that can isolate you a lot from like community, from family, from friends. You know, like we feel this pressure to say something new or contradictory from what's happened in the past. And that's not always the best thing to do. Sometimes, you know, people have made decisions in the past that we don't have to make again. We can learn from the past and kind of fit in with people and accept the virtues of community.
I think it can be both. Like, when it comes to like individualism, it depends on like how you come at it. If you're coming at it from like, because there's a thing when you think too much about it, it kind of just like circles around and you're like chasing your own tail. It's pretty vain, I think, to like have that focus on just yourself and how you're different from everyone else, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I mean, at the same time, there's definitely an upside to being able to express yourself. I mean, as time has gone on, especially in the West, individualism has for sure come to the forefront, and there is a certain advantageous aspect of being able to express sides of yourself that maybe in the past people had to repress. So, like being able to dress however you want, or be in a relationship with whoever you want, or go into places you want to go, and not having to just fit in with what your family or society tells you to do, can definitely be a good thing.
I mean, there's also like the part where it's become marketable to be an individual. Like you have to be an individual or else you're just like a sheep following the herd. So I guess it depends on where you're coming from. If you're like actually doing it because you enjoy it and that's who you are, then there's like really like, that's good. But if it's so you're performing, there's like a difference if you're performing or you're not performing. Like,
yeah, who are you doing it for?
Yeah, who are you doing it for?
Are you being an individual to express parts of yourself that you feel more comfortable representing in public, or are you doing it to like signal to someone or something that, you know, you have this immaculate taste?
Yeah.
And like to put yourself on a pedestal above everyone else.
What kind of effect do you think globalization has had on individuals?
I think it's kind of like an oxymoron. Like as globalization has become so common, and as like all of society has started representing the West values, that has brought along individualism and like consumerism, to where in the past there's a lot of but sometimes insular societies where people were more like part of a herd and part of a community, and even sometimes a monolith. But where like the free market has been exposed to the whole world, everyone has access to the same goods in the same market. And so it's kind of like the same brand of individualism has spread across the whole world, where everyone's trying to stand out and be different, but it ends up just being even more homogenous.
Yeah, it's like devoid of any personal touch, right? Because everyone's just trying to be different in the same way. Because you don't want to be the same, but eventually you kind of end up in the same spot.
Or like picture like, I don't know, like 50 years ago, you might be wearing an outfit that's entirely sourced from your local community. You know, it might have been partially altered or created by a tailor. Those materials were like tanned and harvested from that community. And someone across the world could not be wearing any of those articles of clothing or consuming the media you're consuming. But now, you know, people are just shopping on Shein for the same jeans that everyone else is wearing. Like, in an aspect, like, globalization is making everyone more homogenous in the fact that that brand of individualism has become so ubiquitous.
Yeah. I feel like they've used, it's part of like a marketing tactic now to put in individualism at the front, where you have to be different, you have to dress a certain way, you have to be different but in a specific way that's different from the others. That's still cool and like fun.
Do you think it's creating a hybrid or like a blend, especially in collective societies? Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think that the collective side of things is here to stay. I think when globalism comes in, it tends to wreak havoc on any kind of community or collective organization, because local businesses and local communities cannot survive when they're competing with like huge corporate entities that have global resources. So what ends up happening is like a community that at one time had a thriving local scene, and all of these spaces and like stores end up just being suffocated by big brands, and then that identity just disappears.
Yeah, it's just devoid of the actual culture and lifestyle that was originally there. Now it's just like some form of derivatives of that culture and lifestyle that was originally, you know.
Yeah, a more marketable.
Yeah, a more marketable version of it.
Do you think individualism creates freedom or loneliness, or both?
Or what?
Freedom or loneliness, or both?
There, you can look at it from an angle that is freeing. I mean, you are free to dress however you want, but I think that market forces have a huge effect on it, more than people think.
Yeah.
People might think, oh, I personally came to the conclusion that I want to dress like this, or I want to talk like this, or be like this. But realistically, you know, they might have seen something on an algorithm somewhere that like has planted that seed. And so that also can be really isolating, because like these trends aren't organically formed.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, it's not from conversations with people. It's not from local community. It's from like some corporate executive or some like seed table of directors that are deciding what this season's trend will be.
Magazine editors.
And so like a lot of times it feels like you have no control over how you're expected to present yourself. And that can be really isolating. I mean, we're just like scrolling Pinterest, making mood boards in your room, and it's very insular. You're looking out at the world, and you're not really interacting with it. You're trying to carve out your own space so that people might want to look at you. And I think most aspects of community or any collective engagement there just gets like, you know.
Yeah. But there's also the aspect where if you are an individual and you look different or you dress different and loud, that's kind of like a filter for who's going to interact with you. You know, like you can sort of stay away from the wrong crowds that you don't want to be interacting in the first place, because they see you and they're like, oh, what the fuck?
Signals that you're
it's like also part of like a way to signal to like look for a community of people with similar like ideals.
But sometimes it's rough too, because you might have some aspect of your personal style that's important to you for some reason, and that suddenly like something latches onto that, and all of a sudden it's not cool.
It has a totally different meaning,
and you really don't want to be associated with that. And it feels like it's like ripped away from you.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt pressure to represent your family, culture, or community?
Yeah.
More than yourself?
Other than myself?
More than.
More than myself. I mean, yeah, my mom was like super strict. She wanted me to like look a certain way, act a certain way, speak a certain way. And she would, I don't know, like I was kind of isolated from most of my family just from like the fact that I've always been a bit strange when I was a kid. Everyone would like hang out all together and I just like sit in the corner, like eat grasshoppers. Yeah, I mean, obviously, and like now that like I'm like living alone by myself and stuff, I do still feel that obligation that I need to represent my culture and my people in a certain light.
Like, do you care about your family name?
Yeah.
The last thing, like, care or?
I really don't care anymore. But back then when I was a kid, I was really pressured to give a damn. My mom would not let me do a lot of things because it would sort of taint the name of the family.
Right.
Yeah.
I think personally, I was not really pressured to act or dress any specific way. Definitely not by my family. They were both pretty open about however I wanted to carry myself. But I can definitely say at larger gatherings or maybe at school, there's definitely like a homogenous nature around how certain people act, especially in like masculine friend groups. There's usually like a strange aura of like a weird threatening aura where like everyone's trying to like come out on top, and usually there's like some people who are at the expense of that, and that is definitely when I was younger for sure affected the way I acted, even just out of like self-defense. But I think as I've gotten older, I found less pressure for sure.
When you think of individualistic, what picture comes to mind?
Individualistic, what picture comes to mind?
Yeah, like the extreme of being individualistic.
Like I don't know. I think of like one of those mismatched blankets from like quilts. That's what I always think about.
What about
Collectivist. Like a farmer's market, a community.
when you think individualistic, what picture comes to mind?
I think a picture of isolation, definitely. Like that's the goal, right? To be an individual is to be separate from the whole. So if you were to take that to an extreme, I think that would be the picture coming to mind.
What about collectivist?
Well, if you want to take it to like a full extreme, you can go like in 1984, like an orderly group of people wearing gray clothing. But I think that you can also have a more positive angle of collectivism, like safety, community.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
What comes to your mind when I say two hollows?
Yikes.